to quantitative easing. It's a very painful expression in relation to the capitalist economy itself. It's electronic printing of money, not in the old way, of buying up government assets and pumping money into the system. Gone out of the window is the fear of inflation. Gone out of the window is the fear of another Zimbabwe. No, the capitalists now, because of the fear of deflation, they want a little bit of Zimbabwe. They want a little bit of price increases. This is the insanity and the contradictions of capitalism itself. Will it work? Well, that was a question mark. It's 5% on paper of British GDP, what's been promised by the Bank of England. Will it work? Well, the jury is out. At the very least, it will act as a very limited cushion as far as the economy and as far as British capitalism is concerned. It's a question of live now and you, the working class, will pay later. The storing up of huge state debts is, in a way, generational theft. It's stored it up and saved the system now in order that the next generation and the generation of after that will pay with the cuts that will come in the state sector itself. There is virtual nationalisation of the banks in Britain and in America. But they dare not call it nationalisation for ideological reasons. They've even invented a term in the US, but don't call it nationalisation. Take over the banks, but call it pre-privatisation. It's absolutely don't nationalise, take them over, and it's only a step towards further privatisation. That's how cynical, by the way, they are about this position and how they believe that they're not being challenged yet by a mass party which would be breathing down the neck of the bourgeois and putting forward a socialist solution. You have the incredible position where on the one side we have the state investment in the banks and its virtual takeover, and Mandelson going down the road of privatisation of the Royal Mail at the present time. This has reached such a state that Douglas Alexander revealed recently that he was actually shouted down on question time. It didn't appear on question time. He was shouted down by a chant from the audience demanding nationalisation. We've seen the polls, for instance, in relation to the railways, where overwhelming majorities are in favour of nationalisations. But the question is, if the banks were fully nationalised, why not then Woolworths? That's the question that is posed. And by the way, when I was a child, the teachers used to say to me, you must study or you end up working in Woolworths. That's now a utopian prospect of this generation, by the way. But the great fear of the working class is that the jobs, which have been the fear that exists now amongst workers, is the avalanche of redundancies, is now being exploited by the Brown government, and particularly by the trade union leaders, to blunt the effects of redundancies in Britain. For instance, in Germany, 700,000 workers are actually, the firms which employ 700,000 workers are receiving a subsidy to maintain the salaries of those workers. That's a direct subsidy, not to the working class. That's a direct subsidy to the employers. Where have the profits from the past gone, by the way? That raises the question of opening the books and so on. There is huge opposition on the part of the working class. But at the same time, there is 2/3 short-term working now taking place in large sections of British industry, where the compliance of the trade union leaders themselves. Only this week, in Toyota, a 10% cut in the wages of the workers in that firm. That is being worked out as a £2,000 cut per year. What is that in terms of a holiday, in terms of clothes for children and so on? And nevertheless, we still have these explosions as we saw in Oxford. We've also seen in France, and we were contacted by Al Jazeera, one of the commentators appeared on Al Jazeera last night, about the explosions in France where the French workers are imprisoning the bosses at the present time. Very significant, the students occupied the Sorbonne, in which, in a way, the revolution was triggered. And it was a revolution in May, June 1968. There's the colossal opposition of the youth and the students on the question of fees, on the question of the generalised attack on education at the present time. Look at the position in the construction industry in Britain. It's the worst position, according to the figures this week, in 90 years. And by the way, the number of homes that will be built in Britain in the next year is the lowest since 1921. And the number of mortgages for the new generation is just evaporating at the present time. At the same time, we see white-collar unemployment of architects, of lawyers being thrown out of their jobs. We not only have now the overproduction of goods, the overproduction of the working class, but we have the overproduction of the middle class as a new phenomenon in Britain. We have now bankers being there, where the government's attempting by fast track to transform them into teachers. That's not just, by the way, an attempt to soften unemployment of bankers. It also represents an ideological rejection of the whole edifice of financialisation by the very people, by the way, who are working in the system itself. This is not just a crisis of neoliberalism, of deregulated neoliberal capitalism. It's a revolt against the inhuman conditions which have existed in industry, of what the Financial Times called this week of the corporate dictatorship which has existed in industries and factories up to now that is taking place. We have articles in the Observer pointing out that 2/3 of the jobs created by New Labour were created in the state sector, where this marvellous, entrepreneurial, successful private enterprise. Where one commentator in the Observer says, it's just like a stolen estate, the management structure in large parts of private industry today, where most of the managers have their face turned towards the chief executive officer and their arses turned towards the customer. A very good phrase, by the way, in describing the reality of world capitalism or of capitalism at the present time. But the accumulated debt that is being stored up means inevitably a massive attack on the state sector and on the civil service. Inequality is ingrained in the system itself. Of course, the majority of the victims will be the poor and the working class. And even now, we see the way sections of the working class are beginning to scrimp and say, I was a bit surprised this week when I read a report about there's a certain nostalgia for Bristol gravy. I don't think it's nostalgia. I think it's trimming your living costs. Also, fish fingers, surprisingly, have boomed in a situation where other foods are decreasing. And unbelievably, Marks and Spencer are now producing packaged jam butties. Maybe the jam butty mines in Nottingham will open up again. These attacks on state expenditure are a guarantee of a big opposition on the part of the working class. The attacks on our economies in unison are not an accident. They're criminal, by the way, if you think about it, in the teeth of the offensive of the employers itself. They also want to remove a rallying point on behalf of the working class in the struggles to come. The British bourgeois aren't really at their wits' end as to what to do. They face a national crisis in this situation without really a political alternative. It's a bit like a football crowd shouting at the manager or barking at the referee